Marco Island. This is the Good Morning Marco podcast, the first and only good podcast about Marco Island. My name is Ryan Sullivan.
And I'm Jordan Kraley.
Jordan, we got a fun one today. We're going to get, are we going to have some controversial hot takes?
Potentially.
So today's episode is all about this little plot of land right behind us here for all of our YouTube watchers. I'm a little out of breath because I just ran across the street to get here because it just started raining. So for all of our YouTube watchers, you know where we are, as long as you're familiar with the area. But for all of our audio listeners, Jordan, where are we at?
We are at the plot of land of Bald Eagle and Elkham Circle, right next to the cemetery.
Yes, directly in front of the cemetery. Like, I can see gravestones from where we're sitting. Well, anyway, which I don't know how in good taste that was, because the whole point of this episode is sort of about the respect of this land.
That's fair. That is very fair.
So I'm not entirely certain exactly how it goes, but someone's planning on putting a restaurant right here, right?
Yes. So, since you asked the question on NEXTDOOR, I heard some people say businesses, plural.
Okay. All I saw was that I believe it's the son of Joseph Oliverio. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Don't crucify me in the comments. The son of Joseph Oliverio, who is Joey of Joey's Pizzeria, and Joey and Doreen of Joey's and Doreen's, and La Mesa. Those are the three restaurants that they own now. And I heard that they want to put a restaurant with a drive-through in here. And there was a two-piece, I think, referendum or something along those lines that they wanted to, number one, put a restaurant in here, and number two, wanted to do a change of use to above Joey's or above Doreen's to turn that into like housing or something like that, which we're not going to get into that today.
I did hear about that though.
Because I have heard a lot of people against that because it sort of feels like, indentured servitude. But
seems like these people have a couple different controversial things going on right now.
There's three really big controversies going on right now, which, it's an election year. So what do you think's going to happen? There's this, there's that, and then...
and that other thing, whatchamacallit?
You did a little bit about the other thing. You did a little bit of research about that, which this episode isn't going to be wholly about that. But do you want to...
No, the trolley?
Yeah, do we want to start with that, or do we want to...
We can leave that for later if we have time, Because, ladies and gentlemen, it might rain.
I hear the sound of an abundance of rain.
They're little raindrops on my little notepad.
Raindrops are falling on my head. Also, I just want to say really quick, this is Wendigoon's coffee cup that I got. I ordered it back in December. It just got here like 2 weeks ago, and it actually got here about 3 days before I went to go meet him. So this makes me very happy.
It looks very interesting.
You did the lion's share of the research on this one. So do you want to sort of summarize the issue at hand?
So basically, everybody has kind of their own different take on what is allowed versus not allowed and what is just morally right and morally wrong for the property. Right. At the end of the day, there are going to be the different positive things that could come from it being here and the different negative things. I do have like a summary bullet point thing on each of those, and then you can kind of tell me what you're feeling from those.
Okay.
So I kind of wanted to start with some arguments in favor of
putting a restaurant
here.
With a drive-through in particular, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So some things, benefits for the economy in the area. You're going to create jobs, tax revenue, those sort of things. You're going to get like a different...
Which, my only thing about that is, what else does that? That business, that business, that business, that business, that business, that business. Everywhere else also does that.
That is fair.
Bringing more jobs to here isn't like...
crucial.
It's not a crucial necessity. I mean...
I definitely agree with that.
That's a great bullet point, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter as much because there's other ways, other places that it could go. And actually, this is one of the few like lots that have been empty on the island forever. I always thought that it was owned by New Life as well, because New Life owns the cemetery.
Yeah, I thought it was all connected.
Yeah, which actually, funny enough, when we were younger, my dad always said, you know, I always wanted to buy this plot of land and put in a restaurant. And he said, but I don't think anyone would ever allow that to happen because it'd be right next to a cemetery, and especially because of what he wanted to name it. He wanted to call it Dead Man's Party, and have it be based off of the Oingo Boingo song. You know Oingo Boingo?
I do not.
Oingo Boingo is the band that Danny Elfman created when he was like in college. Danny Elfman, the guy who wrote the soundtrack to like nearly every Tim Burton movie ever created.
That's an interesting fact.
As you were.
So your opinion on the last piece, I feel, is going to tie into this next bullet point that I have. Tourism boost. Basically, what I got from it, again, going with all of the benefits for now, would be attracting other visitors, the convenience for tourists. You know, you're going to be able to showcase other types of local cuisine and like an overall appeal on Marco.
Well, here's my argument against that. Do we want tourists hanging around a cemetery?
I concur.
I don't know about that. That's that to me, that's kind of a bad thing. I don't really think that there should be.
I feel like it disturbs the peace of anybody visiting.
Right. This should be a quiet area. I mean, I feel like there were probably even qualms about building up the Veterans Park more than it currently is, just because of its proximity to the cemetery.
Oh, 100%. Like, I never thought there would be a Dollar General and stuff right here. Like, I was like, okay, I understand the 7-Eleven. It's on the other corner.
That person's car is dragging on the ground.
Oh, I see.
Anyway. That was me a year ago. Anyway, go ahead.
Like, I understood the 7-Eleven. It's kind of like a main intersection on the island. And for it being a main intersection on the island, I could understand why you would want something on this plot.
Absolutely.
But
well, there used to be a lot more 7-Elevens on the island than just this one and the other one by the beach.
Really?
Yeah, I think at one point, because they weren't all gas stations, they were convenience stores as well. There used to be 7-Elevens.
Look at all the crows.
Ooh, we've got a bunch of Corvettes behind us. It really does create the atmosphere of the cemetery.
And for a moment, can we just imagine how many of them would be in the dumpster right here 24/7 dropping stuff over other people's like graves?
Yeah, I mean the cemetery already has a cleanliness problem, which I can sort of get into the history of that a little bit later. But yeah, the amount of, because dumpsters smell bad, especially around restaurants. So I don't.
I mean, also imagine going to see like your loved one or whoever you're paying respects to, and the waste management truck is like reversing to pick up the stuff.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Which who I don't know who's visiting their loved one on a Tuesday afternoon at like 11 in the morning, but still,
it's kind of hot for that.
Yeah, that would be unsightly. Okay, so go ahead. What's your next point for? Because so far, both of your positives have been negative.
Well, I mean.
No, I know you're trying to play devil's advocate,
the scales.
so it's okay.
So we've got the community amenities. You know, just the fact that it would enhance the dining options again for.
Okay.
You know, the vibrancy and convenience.
The only reason I would agree with that is the proximity to Veterans Park, because right now there's only one restaurant within like the sight line of Veterans Park, and that's the Italian Deli, which it just so happens to be that the Italian Deli is owned by the current chairman of the city council, who approved putting the Veterans Park there, which I don't think that's an issue. I just think that it's kind of funny that their restaurant got put in there, and then immediately afterwards the plans for the park got approved. But that is so within immediate walking, which I mean, this is immediate walking distance over here at the little Publix Plaza, but still, it would,
I mean, for somebody like, I know we were talking about like community people living here, but tourist aspect, like, I mean, if I was over at Veterans Park, I know you got maps and stuff, but I'd still be pretty confused trying to get over to like what all of those places
have to
over
cross the street, and you have to cross a busy street to get over there.
These lights don't change that often.
Right, Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, like, coming from the farmers markets, I'd park over, yonder, and I would try to be crossing right there, and it would take, like, 5 or so minutes for
Yeah.
it to ever change for me.
Which, here's the thing. If it weren't for the cemetery being right here, it would be a perfect location.
Speaking of crosswalks, just because this has been on my mind so
Uh-huh.
much, why did Marco change all of the green poles to black?
I don't know.
Do you like them black or green?
I like them green.
I like them green too.
I like them green. It makes everything look more natural.
Exactly.
The black throws me off because also that black is going to fade over time.
And then it's just going to look bad unless they keep it maintained 24/7.
Yeah, so it'll look bad in probably like a year and a half.
Petition to make them green.
I don't know. If they really wanted, if they wanted to do it like touristy, what I would do, have each of them a different color.
Oh, that'd be cute.
Go like one's like a light blue, one's like a seafoam green, one's white, one's black. Who cares?
Oh.
Just who was that?
I don't know, but they said they love it.
Oh, cool.
Maybe they listen to the podcast.
Hopefully.
If you're in a white Mustang, I love you.
Oh.
Thank you.
If you're in a white Mustang and you were watching the podcast and you were the one who actually shouted to us, then I love you. But if you're just in a white Mustang, hands down, I don't really care.
Likewise.
Yeah.
So moving on to the fourth thing I have for the benefits, property value increase.
What property value increase? The graves?
I mean,
oh yeah, no, Harold. Is,
it definitely wouldn't
Harold
increase
may be
that
6 feet
property.
under, but his
But I mean,
Harold
it
might be
could.
6 feet under, but of course his grave went from being worth $2,000 to $19,000 overnight. I'm going to sell it.
Yikes.
With him still sitting in the ground underneath there. We're going to have a pet cemetery situation. That's not a good idea.
You see, how come the cemetery wouldn't get this and expand? Like, what stops them from that as well? Are there qualifications to be at that cemetery?
Well, yeah, you have to pay for a plot, but and I know that there's like a Jewish section and then a everybody else section.
If I'm not mistaken, I heard the Jewish section is closest to where the drive-through would be.
That is also true. The Jewish section is right over there.
So some people believe that is
What,
an
that there's
issue.
anti-Semitism involved?
I mean, depending on who you ask, they could believe that.
That's certainly a theory. I mean, I don't know. I think... Well, it's not like the cemetery on purpose put the Jewish section closest to the empty plot of land.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's
it
no
just
way
so
that they
happens to
probably...
be, like, what, are they going to buy the middle of the cemetery so it could be closer to the everybody else section? Are they going to tear down the chapel over there so that they could put it on the water? No.
Drive-through chapel.
Yeah.
Do you remember during COVID when they did, like, the drive-through memorial things?
No.
I remember reading something. I mean, I don't know if it happened around here at all, but I know up north,
Oh, yeah,
it would be like...
Up north, I heard about that. I saw babies getting baptized with a water gun.
That's
In the name of
wild.
the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Psst, 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 psst.
Okay, so...
I think that was a reel right there. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Psst, 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 psst. It's that baby that's covered in, like, soot or whatever. It goes, I just turned into that when I did that, by the way, in the video. I can keep giving myself more work.
I'll help you. Hopefully you guys liked the vlog we did. I got to
Yeah.
experience some of the editing, so maybe I'll be able to help on future projects.
Yeah.
So moving
All
on, because my phone's at 20%.
Oh, goodness me.
And Ryan's phone is currently recording for us.
Yeah.
So, arguments against. Some of these we have already mentioned.
Right. In my responses to
yes.
the arguments for.
So, respect for the dead as far as
That's a big
sanctity
one.
of the cemetery, emotional impact, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That is definitely probably the biggest issue.
Yeah. I feel like that's the main, like, that's the first thing that everyone thinks about when it's like, oh, we're going to put a restaurant in by the cemetery. The cemetery.
That's also
What?
kind of spooky. Like, what about ghosts?
Wait, say it again.
What about ghosts? Ghosts.
I don't know. What about ghosts? Back in the year 1972, April 11th, at the top of the charts was the song "Killing Me Softly with Her Song." Uh, there were two young girls, both by the name of Lisa, aged 14 and 16, respectively. It was at the height of the Vietnam War. Life was not the greatest, and this cemetery here was not very well maintained. If you are familiar with the not Key Marco Cemetery, the Caxamba Cemetery, it's very overgrown. There's a lot of not kudzu, but there's weeds everywhere. It's very overgrown. If you consider what it looks like right here, imagine the entire cemetery looked like that. Like trees overgrown, random sorts of plants and stuff overgrowing everything. So this was a common hangout spot for the youths back in the 70s. In fact, there's a little swell over here where used to be a dirt pit, and that's where kids would ride their dirt bikes and stuff like that. So I say kids, but they're only people who would have been 4 to 5 years younger than us right now, or our age. So this was a common hangout spot, and this is where you would go when you didn't want your parents to find out what you were doing. So that led to some not so great stuff happening. Trigger warning. I'm going to use a word that YouTube doesn't like us to use, so I'm going to sort of tiptoe around the fact. It may seem sort of disrespectful the way that I am saying this. However, YouTube will literally just take us off if I say the actual word. So please try to understand what I'm attempting to say here. So these two girls, both named Lisa, the year was 1972. They were 14 and 16 respectively. They were staying over at, I believe, the older Lisa's house. And they decided that they were both going to take their own lives. So they, I think I'm allowed to say that. They put their record player on as loud as it could possibly go, and then left the house so that the parents would just think that they were up in their room and everything like that, and everything was fine. So they snuck out and had taken Lisa's dad's handheld weapon and that fires bullets, and had gone underneath the base of the largest tree here, which not that one, but I believe that one over there. Gone at the base of that tree. Now, mind you, everything's very overgrown at this point. And then they both committed unalive. One aimed the weapon and then used it on the other. She passed immediately, and then the older or the younger one of the Lisas then aimed it at herself, and then she would pass from blood loss 2 hours later. Their remains were both discovered the following morning, and it was then that basically all the town's adults, like parents and such, decided something like this can never happen again. We need to fix up the cemetery. The entire everything was completely spearheaded by the very unfortunately named Jane Hitler. She was the main person behind this effort to sort of make Marco better for youth, to first clean up the cemetery, and then she started the Marco Island chapter of the YMCA. So the island has had a long history with this cemetery. And what worries me is that putting a restaurant right here might be history repeating itself. I know that I started that just because of me deciding to spin a story, but that's where I got the point to. I think it's very concerning. But I know you've got other points against, so I want to hear what those are.
Okay. So we've kind of gone over the noise and disturbance thing
Right,
prior. So traffic and parking issues.
Oh, goodness me.
Like when I'm sitting here next to this lot, my brain can hardly comprehend how you would fit a restaurant, let alone a drive-through, let alone parking.
Right.
It doesn't seem that big.
Which I know one of the biggest issues with them converting this into the land use was the buffer zone. About how the buffer zone needed to be a specific amount, and then they changed they didn't even change the law. They just went aside the law about how it worked. I don't know. There's a NEXTDOOR comment that goes into it pretty detailed, but
Environmental concerns. One thing that I did notice while we were setting up is there were a good amount of iguanas living over here.
well, iguanas are an
You're supposed
invasive
to get
species.
yes, you're supposed to get
so
rid of them.
that's not really an issue.
But I mean, imagine all the other animals that are over here.
There's a one-eyed cat named Pirate who lives in this cemetery.
Really?
Yes.
That's kind of adorable.
I know, right? I've seen him every once in a while. I think I saw him over in the parking lot outside Cava a couple days ago. Anyway, yeah, one-eyed cat named Pirate.
Yas. One of the things was more so like about potential runoff and pollution with the waste management
goodness, yeah.
and all of
Into
that.
the grave sites, which I feel like also some of those, like the environmental impact. Oh yeah, there's an empty lot anywhere. That's going to be an issue. So once again, I don't really know if that is quite the most heinous thing in the world.
Yeah,
If you know what I mean.
I definitely do. It's
Yeah.
definitely one of the more
Tame talking points.
yes.
Okay.
And then the other one we've mentioned plenty of times, like community opposition, so
Right.
public sentiment and cultural sensitivities.
Which I doubt this place would be successful.
I don't think I would personally come to this restaurant unless it
wouldn't-
was something that was definitely not offered on or around the island.
Right. I'm wondering what could they do that was even like that would even like be able to outweigh the fact of it's just like, oh, they put this in right. Which I mean, it's not like there's no precedent to people putting things next to a cemetery. My mind is drawn to that one up in Naples. I think it's Naples. That there's like an 11-plot cemetery that's in like the parking lot of a Walgreens at this point.
What?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's Naples or in Fort Myers, but there's a very small cemetery. There's only like 11 graves in there. And it's like so close to either a CVS or a Walgreens that it almost looks like it's part of like it's in their parking lot. So I mean, I always thought that was weird growing up, but like, I don't know, and I did never stop at that Walgreens, but it wasn't out of like, I feel like they might have growing pains, but I think in like 5 years, there'll be enough new people on the island that'll just go, it's like, oh, what, you mean there didn't used to be a restaurant here? Oh, that's weird.
True. You know, I mean, a lot of people, unless you regularly come down here, snowbird or just annually vacation, you know, you're not going to realize that this wasn't
I think
here.
there's enough morally corrupt people around here that they'll just decide to eat at the restaurant anyway. I don't know if I want to include that in the podcast.
I was about to say, that's the hot take.
That's
That is the hot take.
I want someone to clip that out of context.
Don't burn your hands taking that out the oven.
Goodness
Here's
me.
NEXTDOOR.
Okay, so I commented on NEXTDOOR. I say, hey, y'all, what's the deal? What's the deal with the restaurant by the cemetery? I want to record a podcast today about the issue and want opinions. Why are you for or against it? So I do just want to say really quick that Denise says, just my thoughts, but if you're doing a podcast today, seems like you should have been researching this and getting opinions way before now. Now, Jordan, when did you start researching this?
Like a week ago.
Yeah, come on. And then,
We didn't really decide to include opinions until we realized that it's mostly an opinion piece.
Right.
And we have two limited perspectives.
Right. We're both younger people.
We are open-minded about other perspectives. It's
Right.
just more of like seeing all of them.
So-
you know, I wouldn't come up with probably half the things some of the people have said on here.
I also just want to mention Larry's comment really quick. He said, Ryan, that will not give enough time to do your research and produce a meaningful discussion. I think we've had a pretty meaningful discussion in the first 28 minutes of this podcast so far. If you really want to take on a meaningful exploration of this topic, go to the experts and interview them or have a roundtable or panel discussion. That's not the podcast. That's not what we do. So, I mean...
If you are looking for more...
Yeah, go watch the
information.
city council.
Yes, the city council meeting is definitely where to go.
This is about opinions. This is about opinions. This isn't about like
we are not professionals,
right? This is about the morality response to it. We're gonna have to go to a city council meeting at some point. Unfortunately, I've been to a couple and they're not very fun. Why would you want to take on such a toxic topic on a podcast? Toxic topic?
I think it's only toxic if your mentality makes it toxic.
Right. So there's literally a podcast out there called Two Hot Takes. Like, I mean, what is so toxic about? It's like they're thinking about putting a restaurant right here. What do you think about that? I feel like there are a lot bigger issues discussed on a lot bigger podcasts. That this is not the fish to be frying right now. Is your intent with your podcast to cover all the controversial topics? Because there are a ton. I mean, yeah. We're going to be doing this every other
ones
week.
We can get
We're going to be doing this podcast every other week at the minimum. Sometimes weekly, if I have enough time. So yeah, we'll cover more controversial
a lot of the topics on our podcast come up very organically.
Oh, 100%.
Like, we don't just scour the newspapers and the media looking for clickbait kind of things.
The reason why we decided to do this episode in the first place is because we've seen a lot of chatter about it on NEXTDOOR. Been keeping our ear to the ground, and it's not like this. It's because we were sitting at Kava, like saying, it's like, man, have you seen about this thing? And it's like, oh yeah, I saw about that thing. That thing's crazy. Well, I think that thing's a good thing. I think that thing's a bad thing. Well, I think you should die. That wasn't exactly how the convo went, but still.
Kava culture is very welcoming. Nobody wishes them to die.
Well, I think people could tell that I'm being facetious. I'm also going to take a sip.
That was actually good.
Thank you. So, yeah, that's... people are staring.
We need a sign that says, like,
we really
Good
do.
Morning,
We
Marco.
do. He keeps looking back over here.
Should I wave?
No. Yeah, so that's my response to Larry and Denise. But
back to the... you know what we should have done?
What should have we done?
Just thinking about hot takes, we should have done, like, a kind of funny parody thing where it was like we did hot takes with hot wings. And, like, as each thing got progressively, like...
Well, I do want to do another very similar episode to the coffee episode, but with Mikey White, where we do hot wings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
I really liked that ranking episode, and bringing in a guest that is more of a personality piece than a, hey, what's your business all about type dealio.
Mike's a chef, correct?
Mikey, yeah. Mikey is the head chef at 10K. So
very informative person for wings.
Oh, to me.
But I wonder if this restaurant would sell wings, because you see, going back into like the probability of me coming to this restaurant, you know, you've got so many places on the island that serve the same exact things.
Oh,
it's just kind of who fries it better. You know what I mean? You know,
everywhere has the Cisco fries.
Oh, 100%. I see those Cisco trucks.
Oh, yeah. You see them everywhere. You see the Cisco, you see the Cintas.
This episode brought to you by Cisco.
No.
But
almost just broke a rule there. Anyway, so current, I believe, vice chairman of the city council, previous chairman of the city council, Eric Breckitz, had this to say. He was actually the first comment on NEXTDOOR. He's got over 30 reactions on this. I voted against it. The Land Development Code requires a 15-foot setback, and they required a variance of 12 feet, leaving a setback of only 3. an 80% variance. In my 5 years on the council and my 3 years as chairman of the planning board, prior to that, there was never anything close to this request. The Land Development Code also requires that a hardship exist in order to grant the variance, and the LDC further explains what consists of hardship. Inconveniencing your business plan is not a hardship. The owner of this property knew the setback requirements before he bought the land. This issue should never have been brought to the planning board, much less to the city council. If the 5 councilors that voted in favor of this project really wanted to follow the rules, they would try to change the Land Development Code, that's LDC. What's the point in having these rules if we don't intend to follow them? In addition, we are required by state law to state that the approval is consistent with our comprehensive plan, which it is clearly not. It wasn't much of a decision for me to follow the rules.
Cricket.
You
Cricket.
seem to be giggling just a little bit over there.
Oh, yeah, it's just the last part.
Yeah.
It's just the last
Someone did say something else about that.
You can check it out on NEXTDOOR.
Mike J had a very funny comment in response to that, just based on some things that have been going on recently with the city council. But remember to vote in November, guys. Anyway, so someone had something to say about that. Peter R. responds to Eric Brackett's, "This is not correct. The issue is not the setback, but you keep saying that. That is wrong. The item was the width of the landscape buffer, not the setback. Second, this landscape buffer requirement is only between commercial and single-family homes. Cemeteries are zoned commercial according to Marco Land Development Code. The fault for this error lies with the city. If the city had had its affairs in order, this landscape buffer requirement would not even exist. So the government imposes a hardship on the citizens and then just tells them, too bad, just deal with it? What do you think about that?" This guy's staring at us.
I all of a sudden got super camera shy because I don't know why he's still like actually staring at us. This is like really awkward.
Is that Joey? Is that the guy who owns the land?
I don't know.
Be. That would be very funny if it was. Because I think he drives a BMW.
We're on the sidewalk. We are not on property.
This is true. We are on the sidewalk.
We also are not blocking the sidewalk.
Yes, both of those things are true. we have 10 minutes left, so it's okay.
True that. Can you summarize what was just said?
So basically,
I'm like Dory, so.
Basically, Peter says that Eric Brackett's is wrong. That's not what happened. And the Land Development Code is actually wrong and should not be in the way that it is. Long story short, cemeteries are zoned as commercial according to the Marco Land Development Code.
My only thought about the last two comments is, so for me, I'm not fully aware of the different codes and all those things that are being mentioned and discussed and debated. I am more familiar with like the other perspectives of things. So for me, kind of like them bickering about the codes and stuff is like a, no offense, not my problem.
Right.
That's more of like just realizing that the people in charge of the city don't have their things together.
That's a very
so that
good
kind
point.
of makes me nervous about other things beyond the cemetery.
Right. So I think the main issue that a lot of people are having with this is the variance, is about them just changing the Land Development Code just out of nowhere in order to make them be able to put something here.
Would there be other things that would have to change because of the code?
Not necessarily. But John says it is a lot zoned commercial, apparently. If they meet the requirements, who should care? What business is it of anyone that they border on a cemetery? If nobody can use the lot, then we are taking the value. We are taking the value for no good reason. What would be appropriate there? Auto parts store, bodega, clothing store? I think all of the talk of it being unseemly is nonsense. What do you think about John's comment?
I can understand that because, I mean,
Eventually something's going to go here.
100%. I think it's just definitely one of those things where if it is a huge personal problem for somebody, then just don't support what
Right.
does come here.
You can choose not to support the
Yes,
business.
I feel like it's not going to end the world. It's not going to cause Marco Island to sink.
This is a good point.
But yeah, don't know if that's a hot take.
So Pam responds to this. It really doesn't matter to me what type of businesses, yes, plural, are there. However, I do think a drive-through only 3 feet from the cemetery is extremely rude and disrespectful. It's all about the Benjamins, greed, and tourism, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Feel free to agree or disagree. Smiling emoji. Which, then, there's a little bit of discourse in here. Pam says... Oh, wait, no. Peter says, the drive-thru is 25 feet from the cemetery. So that draws into question, okay, who's telling the truth here? Then Pam responds, then where is the buffer? It went from 15 to 3 feet, yes? Where does the 25 feet come in? I've not heard anything about 5 feet. Peter responds, the drive-thru lane and the building are not any closer to the cemetery, and those fully comply. It's the pass-through lane that is closer. The buffer requirement only exists when the neighbor is a single-family home. There are no single-family homes there.
Oh, so okay.
Mike says, false. Oh, wait, no. He's responding to somebody else's comment.
I'm glad
This is
you're
weird.
dealing with that web of things.
Okay, so Wayne tells us something else here. I'd strongly suggest you watch the city council video from the meeting of 7/22/24, which we will link that in the description and in the show notes. It's on the city's website. Everything you need to know is there. Reducing the mandated setback from 15 feet to 3 feet without evidence of hardship is not permitted. Period. 5 councilors voted for the 80% reduction in the setback. So you can now lean back as you sit in the memorial garden praying for your loved ones who are there and touch a car through the shrub. Goodness me.
Wow.
That's a good, very good representation of what people feel are going on here. The basis for the choice was fear-mongering that this developer would build something even bigger. The truth is, all he had to do was reduce the size of his building. Also, with the current ordinances, they couldn't build anything bigger without a variance. Please note, the developer gave $1,000 to Councilor Blana's campaign for re-election. The tea is getting hot.
It is.
The tea is getting hot. Peter, who's been in this comment section a lot, says, Wayne, false. The building meets the setback requirement in every way. Saying otherwise is false. Also, your comment regarding people reaching through a shrub to touch a car is false. No grave sites are next to the property line. Otherwise, the neighboring property would be violating its setback. Joseph responds, Wayne. He doesn't say anything else. I want to run and check something really quick.
Oh. You tell him.
Yeah. I really want to run and check if it actually is next to, because there are graves right over there. Right?
I think.
I would run and check, but this guy over here keeps looking over at us and he's making me nervous. There's an Italian-looking man at the 7-Eleven, and I think it's the same guy from before.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be Joey.
Oh my gosh, I do see that. That's actually
That'd
really
be very
scary.
funny.
Do we keep this in the podcast?
Huh? I don't know. It depends. Because he might be trying to strong-arm us right now.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I wonder if he watches the podcast.
Oh, I highly doubt it.
I feel like he knows our cars are parked over there.
Huh?
Oh, look, bike.
Sorry about that. You're good.
You're good.
Oh, he's rolling down the window and he's going to talk to us. How much you want to bet?
You're doing all the talking. You're doing all the
Huh?
talking.
That's
you're doing
fine.
all the talking.
It's fine by me. I don't really care.
Hi.
What's that? Yeah, we're recording a podcast.
someone recently bought this lot, and we're doing a podcast on about the restaurant that they're planning on putting here. For our podcast called Good Morning Marco. Yeah. No, it's not live, but it will be up probably in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's that? Well, we were looking at the actual city council meeting about the variance meeting about how the 15 feet had changed to the 3 feet. We're mostly going opinionated on it about how people have been disagreeing about the moral issue of actually putting a restaurant here versus all that sort of thing. Right, that's what I've heard. Do you have an opinion on it that you want to share on the podcast?
I'm the owner.
I figured that you probably were, because I recognize you. You look kind of like Joey.
Joey's my uncle, but he has no involvement. As I own it, I was getting gas, and I'm actually going to be, but I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Do you want to come and say something about it? Because I'd love to have you on.
Well, the facts, right?
Right.
Yeah. How long are you going to be here?
We were only planning on being here for about 10 more minutes, but
You know what I can do? I'm happy to do this for you. I'm happy to get you. Are you guys on the podcast? What I will do is, if you want to have all the facts and everything,
yeah.
I'm happy to give that to you. And, you know, understanding that the church sold it. If you really watch the meetings,
Uh-huh.
you better understand everything here. You know, the sad part is, the community from the church and everyone was offered to buy this. They offered this. If you guys are so concerned, why don't you come together and buy it?
Right, so you offered them that they could buy it before you went to buy the property. See? Well, you know what? If you don't have time right now, you can take my phone number. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's my bottom line argument, so you know if anyone comes right. We know where the energy from everyone should have went to.
What's that?
Their energy shouldn't have been coming after the stupid attacks and false claims. They should have came and said to their council, came to me and said, you know what, how do we come together and preserve the lot?
Right.
Yeah.
I offer for sale, we're gonna preserve all this property on Marco Island. We have conservation power, you're spending millions of dollars. Here you go.
That's very true.
At a $4.32 million appraisal, I offered for them to sell it to them at $2.5 million. I said, I'll take $1.8 million haircut.
That's-
what more people want me to do.
Well,
That's
hopefully we can
respectable.
include you soon on the thing.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, cool.
That'll be awesome.
And you said it was Vince, right?
Tony.
Tony.
Yeah, Vince is there. I'm positive, but they have no, and it's a shame because Joey's getting hit and Joey has no involvement in it.
Right.
He's been getting hit, unfortunately, because of it.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Of course. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
That's all I ever asked for.
Cool. Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll do that for sure then. All right, cool.
See you soon.
So, this is why we do on location shooting.
I know, this was very interesting.
So,
I'm just double checking that everything still has battery.
to summarize very quickly what what he just said
Yes.
is now this throws an entire different spin.
This does,
Because-
because now I have like a changed perspective almost.
I do too, because if someone cared about this turning into a restaurant, say something before they bought it. Now I'm going back to where I was thinking about how, like, hey, it's going to have to be something eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, something's eventually going to be here. And then I said, why didn't the church buy it? Yeah, why didn't the church buy it?
Exactly,
Because
yeah.
they were offered to buy it. And if people really cared that much, there would have been a GoFundMe.
100%.
Maybe then that is a question of there wasn't enough time for someone to actually organize something.
Potentially.
I'd love to know if someone tried to
Well,
organize
we
something.
will know.
I'm sure we'll figure out
Yeah.
quick because, I mean, this will probably be our most viewed podcast.
Oh, this
not
is
gonna lie.
definitely like the first argumentative, and
Oh, yeah.
like it's gonna be a pivotal point
You
for
know,
Good
when
Morning Marco.
you know when we said earlier about how we're open-minded? My mind has been opened.
Yes.
I started this about to say it's very unseemly to have a restaurant here. It's like, well, something's going to have to go here.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel comfortable going and actually checking and seeing how far away
We
the
should
buffer
bring one
zone
of the
is.
cameras with us. We'll do it like after and include it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that on my phone. We'll immediately, once the podcast ends,
We'll
go
do
over
like
there.
a little tour.
Yeah. Our follow-up to, so you know how with the coffee episode we did a follow-up as the vlog. Our follow-up could literally just be the interview.
The interview and the thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for that though, it should be like, like week.
Part of this.
Yes.
Yeah. Week.
Week, not week, skip, week.
Right.
Correct.
Right. That's what I
Correct.
meant. That's
okay.
what I meant.
I just wanted to double check we were on the same page.
Yeah. Because I think the way that we're kind of doing this now is we're going to have something come out weekly, whether that's a podcast or if it's something else, like a vlog or something along those
Yeah.
lines.
Something.
Some sort of content.
I'm definitely super excited to meet
I am
with.
too.
Can we say his
Yeah,
name?
yeah. go
Okay,
ahead.
Tony. Just
Tony,
because
yeah,
like
the property owner, Tony Oliverio.
it was also very interesting to hear him say that it
Hello,
didn't
man,
have
in Nissan
much.
Rogue.
It was also very interesting for him to say that it didn't have much to do with Joey's La Mesa
Yeah.
Doreen's.
So
Because that also changes my perspective. Like I'm coming in here thinking that it's like
the Monopoly
another
man coming in.
Exactly.
Because he's got 3 restaurants right there.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be one of his restaurants. It just so happens that it's like, oh yeah, it's my uncle. I am also getting a restaurant. It's not like it's not like
It's not
we're
like the
gonna
same,
continue with
yeah.
the family business. No, it's
Yeah.
I'm a different person.
Like I definitely feel a lot more comfortable and open to like him trying his new experience with the
Right.
restaurant, and
Which
I do wish him the best.
also
Meeting him, he was really
him-
nice about everything.
Him being so open to saying it's like, oh, I just want to get the facts out there because it's a mudslinging campaign.
It really is.
I like how I immediately switched to just going. It's like, yeah, no, you're right.
I mean, I don't know, something more about like he also did take the initiative to find us and talk to us. You know what I mean?
Well, we are also almost on his property.
Fair.
So-
But I mean, it was just happenstance he stopped for gas. Like
Yeah.
apparently these other people knew that we were recording an episode based on this, and they didn't attempt to reach out and try to come on. They just had their, bullet point
Well, we did have
statements to
one person
say.
reach out to say that they want to come on, but he's unrelated.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But and also I feel bad for ignoring those kids who were like, "Are you recording a podcast?" I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry,
talking to
kiddos.
somebody. So if you
We'll
happen to
make
be
a
watching
sign.
this- yeah.
Oh, they're right there.
Oh, they are. I just yes.
Yes, it's a podcast. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. We know you watch YouTube.
Now with a renewed
You should know this by now.
renewed sort of
You probably have to
fire.
search your thing again. Do it again.
With a renewed sort of fire in this to the 25 comments that are on the YouTube on this right now.
Next door.
I'm gonna go all comments and let's see.
And it was another thing to realize that he didn't have social media, because that also
Right, so he
like
can't defend
understands.
himself.
Yeah, he can't defend himself on the next door thing.
Okay, so now someone here says it was a deal done before it ever came before planning or city council. Ignored all public input. Crooked deals going back to when previous church sold the property and zoning was changed, with millions going to Deltona and other interested parties. That guy sounds like a conspiracy theorist.
Well, but with that, we were just talking about like why didn't the church buy it? Did the church originally have it and then get rid of it?
Oh,
I mean, that's kind of what the comment sounded like.
that's sort
We'll
of
have to
it
research
says
that for the
previous
interview.
church. So that means
Previous
that,
church.
That
There was
doesn't
a
make
different
sense.
church?
Well, there's the chapel over there, which and then there's New Life. Let's see. So Beth says the size of the lot being. We are recording a podcast, by the way. Sorry, the guy who drove by happened to own the property, so we had to talk to him. Okay, adios, folks. Anyway,
I think we cut that out.
I think we do. The size of the lot being a 0.94 of an acre and larger than 2 other corner lots that are also zoned C4 commercial uses. They did not have a hardship to build the 7-Eleven or the bank, nor did they require a variance on their sites. In the instant matter, there is no hardship. In order to obtain a variance, it is Florida law. There must be a hardship. City Council ignored Florida law and voted the way they wanted to vote for whatever reason they had. Mike J responds, who is that?
I don't know. This is
Mike
a very interesting,
Yeah.
like...
Mike J responds, not true. Apples to oranges. What is their neighbor zoned as? And what is their use? Okay. Caitlin says, would love to know what is the proposed restaurant. I would also like to know
I
that.
would too.
We'll ask Tony.
Yeah, when we do the interview thing. That's
All right.
going to be really fun.
This is great. This is great. Well, stay tuned next week for Tony's interview.
Part 2.
Yeah. This is cool. This is very fun.
This is.
I just got another. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Another comment just hit the. Another comment just hit
Drum
the.
roll, please.
I got it. Okay. Give me a second. 26 comments. Newest first. Let's see.
Oh, the cute little puppy with his head out the window. This is a very interesting people watching spot, to be honest. There is a lot of traffic here.
Okay. Wayne responded again. Okay, so Wayne responded to back when. So you remember Wayne originally said, I suggest you watch the city council video.
Mm-hmm.
Peter responded, false. The building meets the setback requirement. And then, so Wayne responds, I've posted a link to the site plan provided to the city, which is in the agenda for the July 22nd council meeting, ID 3693, under conceptual plans. You can say false all day. Everyone should see what a variance granting an 80% reduction in setback looks like for anyone visiting relatives laid to rest in the cemetery.
We should include that link
we
as
should
well.
include the site plans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now it's going to be very important to actually get Tony on the podcast to sort of clear this up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a hot button issue.
You see, it's very interesting because I walked into this episode being like, okay, we're going to talk about like the moral whatever. And for most of the episode, I believe that was like mostly
Right.
the topic, like a couple of the other things. But really ever since that, my thought process has completely shifted to like quite literally what are the points, what is the exact everything.
Right.
Because, I mean, morally or not, whether majority or whatever
really
doesn't
good.
want it
It's
to
a really
happen,
good
it's
point.
going to happen,
I'm so interested now.
Yeah, I very much want to, like, I wish I could just pull out my laptop and pull up all the things.
I wish that I had a third microphone and that Tony had more time.
Yeah,
that
I'm
he
kind of
could've
sad
just-
that we have to wait.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a cliffhanger.
It is a cliff.
The end.
Oh
Oh my god, Looney Tunes, like,
Actually-
until next time.
Here comes a Porky Pig. I think that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
I don't think we can say anything else
Yeah.
because now we don't know actually what's going on.
Yeah, I will proudly admit that now I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I
Oh,
felt like
this
I
is
had
so-
a little grasp, a little tangible whatever on it,
100%.
but now I just don't know.
Okay. I think that's it. Jordan, where can they find me?
They can find you
Yeah.
on Instagram at Real Ryan Sullivan.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I remembered
And they
that.
can find you at JGKraley 03.
Where can they find us?
Oh no, that's the wrong podcast. Okay, good
Morning
Marco
Pod.
at Instagram, Facebook.
Should we create a
We
next
should
door?
create a next door.
I think we
honestly, I think
should.
we're gonna by the time this episode releases, we're gonna have a next door. This
That's
is
gonna
so
be
much
fun.
fun. Oh, we're gonna get crucified. I don't know how I feel about
I'm actually
this, but I'm
more on a
happy.
personal note about the episode.
Uh-huh.
I am kind of scared
Me too.
because I feel like I kind of tiptoed around my opinion, gave my 2 cents on a bunch of things, but I I feel like a lot of people will misconstrue the
I
things
feel
that we
like
said.
also, not only that, people aren't going to watch the whole thing.
People are not going to watch the whole
So
thing.
if you
We learned that
watched-
with the owl
if
episode.
you watched the whole episode, go ahead and comment flapjack in the comments.
Yes.
Comment flapjack in the comments if you actually watched the whole episode. If you don't include the word flapjack in your comments, I'm not going to respect your opinion because you obviously didn't see everything. So you don't know, because here's the thing. I'm undecided.
I'm
right
undecided
I'm
now,
undecided.
too.
I am leaning towards Tony's position because, I mean, but then what Wayne said about how you're literally going to be able to touch a grave from your car, but he said there's a 35-foot buffer. Who knows? That's
it's
the
definitely
fun.
very interesting.
Yeah, so
We'll do a walk around for you, and on the next
Oh, yes.
episode, you'll be able to see
yes.
what it looks like. Because I mean, I bet it's not everyone.
I think we should
has
include. I think we should include it.
on this one.
Yeah, we'll include. Okay, so if you're listening on audio, go over to the YouTube and watch the rest of this episode. Skip to whatever timestamp you're on in the audio, and then go to YouTube for that.
Yep. Just because I feel like a lot of people who do have an opinion, I feel like are mostly people who don't go to the cemetery.
Good point. Good point.
You know?
Well, I think we need to end this episode right here, right now.
Period.
To be honest,
The end.
We have nothing else that we can say
Yeah.
until we talk to
Stay tuned.
Vinny.
His name's not Vinny.
It's not Vinny. It's Tony.
Tony.
They
I was
all
about to
have
be like
very
my cousin
Italian
Vinny,
names.
but then I was like, wait a minute, that's not right.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most. You can catch us on the Pickle Jar.
I'm gonna hurt you.
Thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most. You can catch us at Good Morning Marco Pod on all platforms. Listen on Deezer, Spotify, Apple Music, all those good places. I've been Ryan Sullivan.
I've been Jordan Kraley.
Thank you so much for watching.
Don't forget your flapjacks.
We'll catch you in the next one. Bye. Okay. But for you guys, we're taking you over there right now. Thing where I just pick up my phone and now we go over there. Or maybe we should take everything back to the car quickly. There's no reason to keep this recording. It was going to be a fun gimmick. If we look over here, this entire side of this road here is not even on the property that was purchased by Tom. So you literally there are no graves on this side until we get over here.
There's a whole road in between.
Yeah, there's a whole road in between. So this whole section isn't really going to be an issue.
And then there's like a cliff thing over
Yeah, which I'm sure this will be raised. Because right now it's a water retention pond. So I see this marker right here, which I believe this marks the end of the property. And you would not be able to reach through and touch a gravestone. Right. So this is between the two properties. This,
I understand maybe that one, but even then it doesn't touch.
well, it's not a grave. I don't know. But also, if you look at right there. That's a property marker. Look at how far it is.
Than this one.
Yeah.
Look at the purple.
I mean, but here's the thing.
I think the markers.
Do you think anyone's going to be coming over here and be annoyed right here?
No.
I don't really know.
I mean, also this is like a middle of the day, middle of the week.
Yeah, it is
kind of
6
thing.
o'clock on a Sunday.
Yeah, and nobody's here. So like people coming for dinner and stuff, you know, it wouldn't be that bad.
I've only ever been here and seen someone visiting a relative twice.
Another iguana.
And I've only been here to visit a relative once. So, huh.
I'm so that person where it's like squirrel, but except it's iguanas.
I've been able to tell. Well, this is interesting. This gives a new perspective. It's time to go back to the cars. Hope you enjoyed the vlog portion. Thinking. Okay, now be mad. Now you be mad. And now I'll be mad.